Colleagues, you're most welcome. How are you today?
Surviving. Thank you. Thank you, Chara. We are okay.
Nice to know, and you're most welcome. I trust, Bernard, you feel much better now?
Yeah, I think I'll be okay. I'll be okay.
But did you go for a checkup?
This brother is just sick, but the disease also is not seen anyway. I just want to try to share the screen and if it will show.
Okay, if it doesn't, I'm already with your presentation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I'm disabled. You first need to a little bit enable me.
Let me see. I go make you a co-host.
Yes.
Has Ronette arrived? Asha, also let me make you a co-host. Okay. Asha has also arrived. Hey, Ara, how are you? Okay. So any eventuality, we are all set.
Okay.
Yep. Recording is on. Great. So if anything happens to me, you the co-hosts. Okay. Zupa, we can.
I hope you can see you can see the screen, eh?
We can see the screen.
Okay, so maybe let me just in slide mode. I also see whether it will move. You know, sometimes is it okay? Is it moving?
Yeah, faster than you.
Yes.
No, I had controlled it faster.
So that is good.
Okay, so I think we are good to.
Yeah. So let's wait for our guests.
Yep. I hope those are reflection questions there. Ronette. Okay, I can see the link you shared with me still shows they give at least one persistent food safety issue in your area. I don't know whether you are still interested in that one for now. The link you just shared with me.
Yeah, I had made this deliberate to at least giving us responses so that we for the issues that
Pressy, you're most welcome. Hey, Ara, can you drop the registration in the chat? Thank you. Tracy, in the meantime, as we wait, may you please start registering, please? You're most welcome, Milton, Tracy, Albert, Shafiq. You're most welcome. Happy Independence.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chimera. Happy Independence Day to you.
Yep, Doreen, you're most welcome. Jonathan, you're most welcome. Rogers, you're most welcome. This is great, colleagues. You're most welcome. David, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Henry. Happy Independence.
Happy Independence. Red, you're most welcome. Joanita, you're most welcome. Milton, you're most welcome. You're most welcome, colleagues. Doreen, you're all welcome. Nice seeing you on board. Colleagues, as you come in, may you please register using the link provided above. Please do register. Yep. HID to all of you.
Happy Independence, Henry, and everyone.
Thank you. Please, as you come in, may you please register up there. The link is provided. Martin, you're most welcome. The link is provided up there. Please do register. Ronnie, you're most welcome. Okay. Hope you're most welcome. When we hit the mark of 25, we'll start, and I think it will be 10 minutes past. The rest of our colleagues will find us rolling. Okay. So colleagues, the mark of 26 and 10 minutes past the hour, I would like to welcome you all to our third Media League. Today it is positioned in the way we call it the Food Safety Media League, but today we are saying the third Media League, irrespective of what issues we are going to talk about. I would like to welcome you to our third engagement. I don't know who is sharing the. Nelson, may you please mute? Or I can help you mute. Okay, I've muted you. So colleagues, you're most welcome to our third. And I would like to say at 62, Happy Independence Day, colleagues. It is a great honor that we are meeting once again in our series. I would like to welcome colleagues from West Nile, Northern Uganda, Eastern Uganda, Western, Southwestern, South, and Central Uganda for joining us. As always tell you, you are the ears, the eyes, and the mouth of the societies we live in. And today I would love us to share something very important, which is on nutrient profiling model. We are going to go in deep into it. And as we were planning this, we were asking ourselves, and we are asking you, the fourth estate, on behalf of society, are you independent of the food that you eat? And we are relating this to unhealthy diets and uncommunicable diseases. Being independent, if you go in and look for its definition, it is quite rich. If one is said to be independent, you would see how challenging it is to ask you whether you are independent. Asking you whether you are independent of the food you eat. When we are talking of food, we use the basis: if the food is not safe, it isn't food. So are you eating safe food? Are you eating healthy food? Are you having healthy diets? So if you are independent, you should have food that is not endangering your health. So we are going to relate your independency today with issues to do with unhealthy diets and communicable diseases. At the end of our session today, you will ask yourself, am I independent to take in that I'm eating healthy food? If you're not eating healthy food, then you are not independent. So I would like to thank you all for coming, but in particular, I would like to thank Sefrot and thank Siatini and Fian, who are our colleagues in the coalition of civil society organizations that are campaigning to improve our healthy diets and also draw our awareness and have campaigns against non-communicable diseases. Our discussions today come in at a time when we are challenged as a country, irrespective of being 62 years old. Just imagining being malnourished at 62, just Just imagine when you cannot feed yourself at 62 with adequate food that is safe. You can't feed yourself with healthy diets. You are all susceptible to non-communicable diseases as a country. This is what we are going to discuss today. And as I was thanking our colleagues from Sefrot, Siatini, and Fian, Consent is in partnership with them as a Uganda National Coalition that is campaigning for nutritious foods, healthy diets. And one of the things that is not giving that are the types of food. But one of the tools that can deliver that, or that can help us realize it, one of the vehicles is having a nutrient profiling model. I'm not the best expert, but today, one of our colleagues, friends, brother, father, uncle, dad, cousin is going to share with us. When we come to the food family, we are all one. So one of us is going to share with us. But I want to take this singular honor to ask any of our colleagues, the partners, a minute each, starting with Sefrot. May you use a minute to put your word to this webinar. Sefrot. I saw Martin, you're on board. If you can use a minute.
Participants and the media practitioners, thank you so much, Mr. Chimera, for this singular honor to speak to the Fourth Estate. As Sefrot, the Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights, which is part of the coalition where we have Consent, Fian, and Siatini, we are pushing for feed diets, also for foods that are ultra processed. We tend to consume what we don't know because maybe the foods are not labeled, the foods don't have warning symbols that they're harmful, and we take them because it's what is available. So we'll be happy to discuss. Thank you so much, Mr. Kimera. I'm looking forward to this meaningful engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. And it's a great honor having you, Sefrot. Jonathan Siatini.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chimera. We call you KHR, so it's an opportunity to have this call to learn together and also see that we put this forward, the areas of the front of the pack, warning and labeling. We also have the nutrient profiling model. It is an opportunity, and I also call upon the media team to pick on these ideas because tracing back on the previous 1 or 2 weeks back, Parliament has discussed the same. And one of the issues that is raised is they have limited, spaces of interacting with these issues that are coming up. So this is an opportunity, and I also think that it will be recorded, given to the participants, and also spread further to those key. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, JL. It is a great honor. SK, Shafiq, Fian, Uganda, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chimera and the team at Consent. It's really a pleasure being here, sharing with our colleagues from the media fraternity. I think it's the right time that the media also gets to know about our advocacy. Like previously, we've had a number of media outputs on NCDs, and we have prominent people that have been dying of NCDs, but no one has been talking about the connection between the NCDs and the food we eat. But also, when you look at the adverts that are being run on the media, Maybe if our colleagues here really do understand the connection between what we eat and what they do advertise, they can find a way of balancing between making profits and promoting health. Yeah, thank you very much, and I wish you a happy independence to you all.
Thank you very much, Shafiq. This has been a great honor, and we look forward to our deliberations. Colleagues who are joining in, thank you for sparing time. Please use that link that has just been shared at 1519 to register and share with us all that is required on that form, because it helps us organize better. So that said, thank you very much, colleagues. MW, JK, and SK. So at this point in time, colleagues, as we have heard from all our colleagues, you already heard from me. What I had left out is we are in the Cancer Awareness Month, and what we are going to discuss today, or that is going to be shared with us, you'll find also it has got linkages on with regards to cancer. Some of the stuff that we consume, we are not independent of cancerous foods that are shared with us in many forms. But food fraud is one of the major aspects that is leading us to the vagaries that we are campaigning against. So that said, I would like to stop sharing the poster and call upon our colleague, BBC, to start sharing with us, not with the British Broadcasting Corporation, no. It is Bernard Bwambale Carlos. The floor is yours as I stop sharing. Bernard?
Yes, Henry, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me try to share my screen so that we can be able to.
So as Bernard shares his link, colleagues, please let's register and share the little that you can share. I would like very, very much to welcome you all. Yeah, 41 of us have decided to join, to become more independent with learning more tonight. So Bernard, the floor is yours, and thank you very much.
All right, Henry, thank you so much. Hope you can hear me.
Yeah,
just confirm you can.
Yeah, we can hear you, and put it in the presentation mode so that the screen is wide enough. Thank you.
That is okay.
That is superb. I can look into your eyes.
Okay, so colleagues, you're most welcome once again to the third webinar that we are having. And today we're going to a little bit dive into the science, reflecting on how the non-communicable diseases could be related to food that we eat. I know that everyone has been using the word NCDs, but I'm also aware that many times people don't know these words. So someone says NCDs, but we don't understand what NCDs could mean. So NCDs, basically, we refer to the non-communicable diseases. I will dive into that, and probably we shall be able to understand what non-communicable diseases are and how they come about. But before we dive into the matters, I want us to look at that photo of mine. And I want us to reflect on the consumer rights that are written in there, so that when we are moving forward in the presentation, you should be able to tell whether at one point you've been compromising your consumer rights or someone else has been compromising them. So all of us have a right as consumers to basic needs. And one of the basic needs that we have is actually food. And it's just not food, but safe and nutritious food. And shouldn't just be safe and nutritious, but should also be enough. So you have a right to safe, nutritious, and adequate food. So when we are reflecting today, you should ask yourselves, am I having access to safe, nutritious, and actually adequate food? If you are not, as you're going to sit down there, it will mean that your basic your consumer right to basic need of food is not being fulfilled, and so there is someone who is supposed to be responsible. You also have a right to safety, that everything you're going to have must be safe, inclusive of food and drink. Either drink, it could be water, it could be juice. The other time I told you that there's a very big difference between, for example, a fruit drink and a fruit juice. So we're going to see if you're taking a fruit drink or you're taking a fruit juice, how is your safety? First of all, how is the safety of the drink or the juice or the water that you're actually having or you're taking in? How safe is the food that you're actually eating? Every time you take a food and it is not safe, or it is compromising the safety of your life, then that means there is a challenge. You are not achieving your consumer rights. And so you have a right to complain about such products. And so there's also someone else who's supposed to ensure that they either get out of the market or you're redressed. You also have a right to information, that you as a consumer, just be aware of what is around you. When you go for a party, when you go for a meeting, when you go for a funeral, which kind of food are you going to eat? What are you serving? Do you have information about that food? Do you understand the food that you're actually eating? Every time you eat food and you don't have information about the kind of food you're eating, then that means there's a problem. You are not compliant to your consumer rights, or someone else is actually compromising your right to information on the product that you're actually taking on. But also you have the right to choice, that when you go for a meal at a restaurant or a party or whatever, you have a choice to choose which kind of food you're taking. Now, the question is, when you're making this choice, what informs that choice of the food that you're going to have? Many times we make choices of food that actually makes us sick. So you see someone consuming a lot of unrelevant, unsafe, non-nutritious food, you make a choice to die. I mean, it's a little bit challenging to consumers that you make a choice of the food that maybe you don't have information about anyway. But be careful of the choice of food that you're making. Be careful of the choice of water, drink, or whatever that you're making. That choice can determine whether you're going to live, or whether you're going to get sick soon, or whether you're going to die. So how do you make your choices as a consumer? You have also a right to representation, that as a consumer or as consumers, we're supposed to be represented. Now the question is, who is representing us? It could be consumer organizations, it could be the media, that you're actually the face of the communities that we serve. Then also you have a right to redress, that whenever someone sells you food or a product that is unsafe or that is not matching the standards, then you have a choice to seek for redress. Someone should be in position to actually pay you back for giving you wrong food. And then lastly, we have a right to education, and that's what we are doing now. We have also a right to educate you so that you can educate others. As the media, every time you keep quiet with information, you're compromising the community of information, but also you're denying them awareness creation, and yet is their right. So ladies and gentlemen, I had wanted to start with the consumer rights, because all of us are consumers, so that we can dive into the matter when you can keep on relating the consumer rights with the diseases that come along because of lack of information, because of lack of proper choices, because of lack of redress, because of lack of safety, because of lack of representation, and maybe because of lack of education that is sufficient. So ladies and gentlemen, let us now dive into what we are calling the diet-related non-communicable diseases. There are many non-communicable diseases, but for today, we shall be reflecting on those that have a very close linkage with the diets or with the food that we actually eat. And I started with some bit of reflection. I wanted us to reflect. Are you surely independent when you can't even tell what you're eating and what makes you sick? We are celebrating the 62 years of independence. But many of us are claiming to be independent, even when we do not know, we are not even independent of what we are eating. You cannot make a choice of what you eat. You cannot make a choice of what makes you sick. And then we're also independent. Anyway, have you ever known the health risk of consuming excess salt, sugar, and fat? This is also something that we're going to dive into. These three critical ingredients, salt, sugar, and fat, are commonly known as nutrients of critical concern, or ingredients of critical concern. For some of you who might have answered some bit of questions in the link that we posted, you should have seen such a question. So we have three major nutrients of critical concern. One of them is salt, the other one is sugar, the other one is fat. By the end of today, you will have known why they are called actually nutrients or ingredients of critical concern. Okay, maybe to just give us a little bit of a snapshot of what is happening around the world of nutrition, we learned that the world currently is suffering from what we call a triple burden of malnutrition. So someone would wonder now, what is this triple burden? I know that many of you have heard about the double burden of malnutrition. Now, when you talk about double burden of malnutrition, you're simply saying that you're in a particular village or in a particular household. Some of the members in that home are actually suffering from undernutrition, wasting, stunting, underweight. But in the same family, you have people who are struggling with overweight or obesity. So that is now what they call double burden of malnutrition, that you have two types of malnutrition existing in the same community. But also you can have the same person, one individual who suffered stunting while they were children, and now they are suffering from obesity at the same, now and in old age. So when they were young, they were stunted. When they are old, they are overweight. So when you look at the occurrence of undernutrition and overnutrition amongst the population, we talk about double burden of malnutrition. Now, triple burden now means that you're in a community suffering from undernutrition, overnutrition, and diet-related non-communicable diseases at the same time. So for example, someone was stunted during the course of their childhood, and they became old. Now they are overweight and they are suffering from diabetes. So you see one person is carrying that whole garbage at the same time. So it might not be one individual, but a family. You go to a household, the father is overweight, the child is underweight, the mother is diabetic. So you find that you're associating with three things at the same time. So the world is grappling with this kind of triple burden. In the same community, someone is overweight. In the same community, another one is underweight. In the same community, the person is suffering from non-communicable diseases. So that is what we are basically calling the triple burden of malnutrition. Now, we also see that in our setting, many times we have around us, actually, we always have unhealthy food environments where we buy food, the kind of kitchens we have, the kind of refrigerators we have, the amount, what is in those refrigerators, they are always occupied by unhealthy foods. If you may go back to the refrigerator and start reflecting how your fridge is, you realize that most of the environments we are in are actually exposing us to unhealthy food products. And so because of that, we find that the surge of non-communicable diseases has really escalated, or it has accelerated in our setting. So why is that so? Because of so much of the unhealthy foods around us. I've tried to put up a little bit of a photo there, maybe to have a reflection of what unhealthy diets would mean. Most of the unhealthy diets are very high in sugar, very high in salt, very high in fat. Those are actually unhealthy food products. But also we see that around us, many of us are physically inactive. We eat a lot of food, but we don't put it to use. We are always, in vehicles, in lifts, in the elevators, and all that. So we end up having unhealthy food around us, but also we are very inactive. And the end result, we start putting on a lot of unnecessary weight. And at the end of it all, we end up having challenges of non-communicable diseases, like I'm going to share with us. Now, how are we standing in terms of maybe statistically? You'll learn that 26% of children in Uganda, for example, are stunted. This is the latest report we have as of 2022. 26% of children are actually stunted, meaning that they are chronically malnourished. And then also we have 40% of them without blood, meaning that they are anemic. But on the other hand, also, we see that 26% now of adult women are actually overweight or obese. So you can imagine that whereas 26% of children are stunted, 26% of their mothers are actually overweight or obese. Now, in the same vein, you realize that 11% of men currently in Uganda are actually overweight or obese. So obesity or overweight means that you are weighing too much weight that you are not supposed to have as compared to your height and as compared to your weight. So you find people are too huge, weighing 130 kilograms, weighing 120 kilograms. those categories, we have 26% of females in Uganda who are in that category, and 11% are men. Why? Because of the unhealthy diets and inactive lifestyles that we have. Now, it is also estimated that 33% of the people who die in this country, they die because of particularly 5 non-communicable diseases that are diet related. One of them is the cardiovascular diseases. These ones are diseases of the heart. Others die of cancer, others die of diabetes, and others are dying of trauma. So these 5 are the leading causes of death for Ugandans. That when you go in a village and people are burying 5 people, at least 3 of them will have died of any of these. It could be hypertension, diabetes, high blood pressure, or cancers, etc. You see the magnitude of people suffering from this burden. And then also in Uganda currently, we note that the Ministry of Health noted that around 2014, 24% of adults in Uganda had high blood pressure and 7% had cholesterol levels that were higher. So all of these are really showing us the problem that we are dealing with in this country. These are basically the statistics I was just trying to show you in terms of how we are doing. But how are we globally? What is bringing all these challenges? One of them is urbanization. As people are going into urban cities, we see a lot of unhealthy food also coming up. We see people becoming too busy that we cannot do physical activity. We see a lot of technological issues coming in, and so people end up now using technology wrongly. We start having highly processed foods, and then the only way you can make them maybe a little bit interesting to people is to put more sugar or more salt or more fat, etc. And of course, all these are challenges that we see currently that is propelling the problem of non-communicable diseases, issues of culture diffusion. People are no longer interested in eating what they used to eat culturally. Many of your colleagues, you will learn that your culture demands that you eat kalo or millet bread or millet flour and mixed with something. But these days you take a year without eating them. So you find that the culture diffusion is another challenge that we have. Some people have gotten some bit of employment, and so you are able to earn 1 million, and so you want to eat junk until the 1 million is done. You know, there are challenges to do with time. People think that they don't have time to cook food and all those problems. And then also we see the food industry coming up with all sorts of things, cheap oils, you know, cheap fats, refined sugar all over. And then at the end of the day, we bring people challenges. So what is a non-communicable disease? So non-communicable diseases, many times in the scientific world, we call them chronic diseases. So whenever someone is talking about a chronic disease or chronic diseases, they are similarly talking about NCDs or non-communicable diseases. And one interesting thing with non-communicable diseases is the fact that if you have diabetes, you cannot give it to your son or your daughter or your friend because you've touched them or you are sleeping with them or whatever. You will know the disease is yours. You will suffer with it alone. If you have blood pressure, it is yours alone. If it is diabetes, it is yours. So these diseases are non-transmissible. You cannot give them to your partner. You cannot give them to your friend. You cannot give them to your uncle. They are yours alone. But unfortunately, they take long to manifest. So someone can be with their cancer and it takes you maybe 5 years, you are struggling with it until you realize 6 years down the road, you're in stage 4 and you cannot do so much. And that's why many people die of cancer, because it comes, it eats you up and you're not aware that it has come. And at the end of the day, we see you in India, you sell your whole land, you sell all your neighbors' land so that we can take you to India. But also when you come back, you still die. So these diseases are non-transmittable to other people, but also they take long really to manifest. In science, we would say that they have a long lattice period. So some of the examples, of course, you've heard of cancers. Now, cancers are different types. You can have cancer of the skin, you can have cancer of the liver, you can have cancer of the lungs, you can have cancer of the heart, you can have... So we name the cancers according to the part of the body that is being affected. So if it is the skin being affected, then we call it skin cancer. So you can have those sarcomas or the cancers of the skin. You can have cancers of the brain, cancers of the breast. So depending on where it is manifesting. So that is one example. But also mental health issues are also categorized as non-communicable diseases because people are depressed and it takes you longer to realize that someone is actually depressed. We also have other diseases like stroke, heart disease, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes, lung disease. All of those ones are actually non-communicable diseases. And the real fact is that for all those diseases that are non-communicable, food is one of the contributors of those non-communicable diseases. Actually, studies have shown that eating higher amounts of ultra-processed foods, these foods we keep finding on the streets with highly processed, with the too much oil, the oil is then turning into black and we're still eating, all those are highly processed foods. They are actually linked, they have been noted as a high risk to non-communicable diseases. Now, overweight, when you see that someone is overweight or someone is running into obesity, meaning that they are too huge for their weight or their height, because it may be because of excessive consumption of saturated fats. One would now ask me, what is a saturated fat? A saturated fat is the type of fat that will remain solid at room temperature. So when it is at room temperature, it is solid. So for example, Blue Band, you put it on the table there and it remains solid. So those kind of fats are what we call saturated fats. So people who overconsume those saturated fats, they are at increased risk of becoming overweight or obese. And when they become obese, their risk of getting non-communicable diseases also increases. So the more you put on weight, the higher the risk of getting a non-communicable disease and the higher the risk of dying of a non-communicable disease. So all of that can be a challenge. So these are some of the non-communicable diseases, but I wanted to highlight that research has shown us, that most of these non-communicable diseases, if you look at the tobacco only contributes to about 10% of the risk to most of these. When you look at alcohol, well, it is contributing to about 26% of people who get these diseases. But unhealthy diets are contributing to 87% of women and 88% of men. So you will find that people who are getting these diseases, at least 85 or 87% of them, they have a relationship with poor or unhealthy diets. So we need to do a lot of work when it comes to diets. Of course, there are other NCDs that you might not have heard about. One of them is sleepapnea. Sleepapnea is a disease that, when you're sleeping in the night and you start losing some bit of breath. So you're in the middle of sleep, but you momentarily stop breathing. And then you pick up again, and then again you go off. So it's on and off. So your breathing in the night is having a challenge. And so you hear people starting to snore very badly. Someone snores and all people in all the rooms are listening to the snore. That is a disease. When you have such things, please go to the hospital and we support you. Other things like liver disease, especially those who drink, they always have this liver disease, especially those who are taking a lot of alcohol. But also we have gallbladder disease and cancers, etc. Now, you learn that I have already mentioned that 33%, between 33 and 40% of people who die in Uganda, they die of non-communicable diseases. Unfortunately, 80% of those who die, those deaths are usually premature, like they die before they are supposed to die. So 80% of people who are dying of non-communicable diseases, they suffer from what we call premature death. So you die before you are supposed to die. So that is how terrible non-communicable diseases can cost us. Now, when you look at this, they show us where you see green, that is the contribution of diet to non-communicable diseases. So these are the 11 top causes or risk factors to non-communicable diseases, but you realize that those which are higher than the others are all nutritional related. For example, if you look at dietary risks, you see it takes the lead there. When you look at high blood pressure, it is another leading thing there. When you look at child and maternal malnutrition, it is another one. So you learn that actually people get non-communicable diseases from things that are related to food. And the one interesting thing is that malnutrition associated with diets represent the highest number of the global factors that lead to that, to non-communicable diseases. But also you realize that people who are involved in unsafe sex, and those who are in drugs, and those who are in alcohol, and those who are in tobacco, when you combine them, their risk is lower than the risk of people who are having poor diets. So that is how terrible unhealthy diets can be to this to the non-communicable diseases. Okay, allow me to skip this because I've already talked through them, but let us quickly move to now. What is the linkage between unhealthy diets, overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases? Now, I want to start with, let me start with sugar, maybe. Let me start with sugar so that we can keep on. Now, sugar, highly processed sugar that we keep taking, the kakiras, these sugars that we keep having, many of us are actually taking too much of that sugar. So what happens when we take sugar, too much of it, of course, is the mere fact that it is highly processed, and so the body can release glucose out of it very fast. And when it does so, many times we take a lot of sugar and we don't spend it. Now, what happens is that the body converts that too much sugar that you've taken, and then if you're not using that sugar, the body converts that sugar into fat. Now, what happens is that the fat that is excess, the body looks for a way of storing it for you. So when the body looks for a way of storing it for you, it will either deposit it on any of the body parts of yours that can actually extend. So it could be the tummy, and you see someone's stomach elongating, either frontwise or sideways. Or it could be in the thighs, it could be in the buttocks, it could be, sometimes actually, it can even be deposited around your body organs inside there, maybe around the heart or around the liver or around the kidney. So you start hearing that someone has a fatty liver. That is how things start coming up. Now, many people do not know how they take in a lot of sugar. Look here, sometimes you have breakfast and then you go and serve, for example, you serve millet porridge, and then millet in itself is a carbohydrate food. So by default, when you eat millet, the millet will be broken down and will provide sugar or glucose. So now you see someone putting 4 spoons of sugar. And when you put 4 spoons of sugar, it means that the body is already having glucose from the millet, and then it is going to add on this extra sugar that you're just adding in. And then you take it alongside bread, 4 tosses of bread. And so when you take 4 tosses of bread, each of the tosses is already having sugar therein. So literally you're taking sugar in the 4 tosses of bread and sugar that you've added in the millet. And then at the end of the day, you have had your breakfast, and a few minutes later, you reach office, and office also serves maybe bread again, and maybe again tea. Then you put again 3 spoons. So you're just adding on what you have already not yet spent. So at the end of the day, you keep on getting juice, you keep on taking juice with sugar, you keep taking. So at the end of the day, you've literally taken a lot of sugar, which the body is not using, and the body is being, the body is deciding to convert it into fat, and it keeps it for you. And at the end of the day, people start putting on a lot of weight because they have unnecessary fat rather than unnecessary sugar they are taking. Now, food products that are carrying a lot of sugar are actually now a risk to putting on a lot of weight. And now we shall look at the challenges that come with weight. Now, an average man is supposed to have not more than 9 teaspoons of sugar. Teaspoons, not tablespoons, teaspoons. Now, whenever you take a bottle of soda, you've literally exceeded the 9. So many of you now, you have 4 tablespoons in the morning, 3 tablespoons at office, take juice with sugar, and then you take soda, 2 bottles. So at the end of the day, you are taking about 25 spoons of sugar, and yet your maximum is just barely 9 teaspoons. So that is how we consume a lot of sugar and keeps bringing us problems. Now, secondly, let us look at maybe fat. Now, fat is another challenge. Every time you take saturated fat, the same story happens. Whenever you take a lot of fat, the body many times does not use fat when in the presence of carbohydrates. So whenever you have a carbohydrate, the body first focuses on using glucose as the major driver of whatever is happening in there. Now, every time you are using too much fat, then you are calling upon the body to actually save that fat for future use. So you're taking a lot of fat, and the body stores that fat in the different body parts, either in the organs, in the stomach, in the buttocks, in the thighs, around the neck. And at the end of the day, you have too much fat. Now, many times, this fat can start clogging in the vessels. And when that happens, I will show you how your vessels start narrowing and they cause you problems. They start causing you, you imagine a vessel that was carrying 1 liter of blood, and then in the middle, it is clogged with a lot of fat. The blood remains the same. The quantity of the quantity of blood remains the same, but then where it is passing reduces because you put there some bit of fat which was not supposed to be there. So you have reduced the passage of blood because you're putting in fat. So at the end of the day, the vessels clog, and then you're not able to pass blood satisfactorily. And what that means, the moment your blood vessel clogs with too much fat, and maybe the blood was moving to the brain, and the blood is no longer able to reach there timely, so you see someone blacking out. Now, if the blood was going to the legs, and then the blood is not satisfactorily reaching the legs, then someone goes into what we call numbness. So you see someone with numbness and they're not able to move or they're not able to walk. Or someone is driving a vehicle, but the blood supply has been cut off on one of the body parts, either the brain or something, they shut down on the steering. So you hear someone has died. All of those are challenges that come with excessive fat in our bodies. How do we take in a lot of fat? Many of us take in a lot of fat unknowingly. So for example, everybody who makes bread puts margarine or blue band as the fat that they use in making bread or making cakes. Unfortunately, someone picks 4 pieces of bread and on each toss, someone puts their blue band, which is already in the bread at the time of making. So you're taking the fat that was added at the time of baking, and then you're adding live fat that was actually not supposed to be added. So you end up having a lot of, now imagine 4 tosses that had already fat, which was made during bakery, and then you've added blue band, which is not even melted anyway, which can take you a long time to melt. If it can melt at 120 degrees in the oven, what about your 40 degrees of the body? What happens? So you find that we take a lot of fat unknowingly, and then from there, you go to a party, everything is fried, and you want to take everything because you want to test meat, chicken, goat, pork, everything, you want to test it. So at the end of the day, you have a lot of fat that the body cannot use, and because of that, the body saves it for you. Lastly, maybe looking at salt. You know, ladies and gentlemen, when you get salt and you put it maybe on a table, or maybe you put it around the window in the night, you'll always wake up in the morning and you find some droppings of water on your salt that you left outside there in an open. Why? Because salt is highly concentrated, and so it can attract water molecules from all the neighboring cells. And so when that happens, it means that the water moves from a lower concentration to a higher concentration. So that's why you're able to see water on top of salt at the outside. Anyway, when you put it on a table or somewhere in an open. Now, this is exactly also what happens in our bodies. So what happens in our bodies is that when there is too much salt, that salt starts attracting water molecules from the neighboring body cells. And so the water starts going into the bloodstream. And so you have blood that is full of water. So there is increased volume of blood. Now remember that your body perhaps was supposed to be taking a particular amount of blood to a particular point. Now, unfortunately, the volume of blood has increased because there is additional water that is being brought about by too much salt. So now in that case, it means that your heart has to pump extra times to make sure that all that big volume of water in the blood is pumped away. And when that pressure increases, that means that someone is going into high blood pressure. So that is how high blood pressure or hypertension is linked or associated with consumption of too much salt. So I hope that that can give you a little bit of an explanation of fat, salt, and sugar. So after all of that science that I've tried to talk about, because you have too much fat, you start putting on a lot of weight. And because of that now, we start now looking at some diseases. Now I want to go dive into some of these diseases. Specifically, let us explain diabetes. Now, diabetes is a non-communicable disease, like I have already mentioned. Now, each one of us has a body part inside there, just below the stomach, that part called the pancreas. You must have heard about it. It's a body part within all of us. That pancreas is supposed to deliver a hormone called insulin. Insulin is one of the hormones that are produced by the pancreas. But that insulin is only produced when there is sugar or glucose in the body. So every time you eat your maize, your posho, and all that, the body immediately secretes insulin hormone to come and pick the sugar or the glucose from the bloodstream and takes it out the body cell, just like you can see in my illustration there. What you see as these blue-like balls, I just tried to use them as an illustration of glucose. Yeah, what you're seeing as blue pointers here, that is glucose coming from the food in the stomach after digestion. Now, when this glucose goes to the bloodstream, the body is supposed to secrete insulin, what now I represented as green. When you see those small green balls, I was trying to show insulin coming from the pancreas. Now, when this insulin comes to the bloodstream, its major role there is to attach itself to the sugar or to the glucose and then emits it to the blood cells or to the body cells. So when you look at the uppermost bit here, where you see number 4, glucose unable to enter the body, it means that glucose came to pick sugar, and when it reached the bloodstream to pick sugar, it wasn't able to do so. So the question is, why did the glucose, rather, why did insulin fail to pick the sugar away from the bloodstream? One is that the moment insulin finds a lot of fat or cholesterol in your bloodstream, the action of insulin is resisted. So the insulin becomes slower in picking sugar from the bloodstream to where the sugar is supposed to go. So the moment there's too much sugar and then there's too much fat, then this insulin is resisted from performing its role of picking sugar from the bloodstream and taking it where it is supposed to go. So fat becomes a hindrance or a resistor to insulin. And when that happens, it means that insulin is not able to take away the sugar. And so the sugar remains in the bloodstream. So when the sugar remains in the bloodstream, what happens? You see, colleagues, when you take a meal which is very sweet or sugary, the body demands that you drink water so that you dilute it. So it is the same. When the bloodstream is having a lot of sugar, the body forces you to drink a lot of water because there's too much sugar to be diluted. And that's why people who develop diabetes, they start having, one of the other signs is frequent thirst. So you start feeling so thirsty so that the body you can take in more water and dilute. So this is where the problem is. So, and then because the sugar is too much there, it starts attracting water molecules, as I explained. And so someone starts having a bladder which is full every single time, and you want to run out for urination. So that is why people with diabetes, now they start having challenges going to the urinal place every now and then. So those are some of the signs that come along because of too much sugar. And because sugar is not reaching the intended cells, the body starves, and some of those body cells can die. And so you hear that someone's body part has died off. So all of those come as a challenge of sugar failing to go to the cells because the insulin is not doing its role. And why is this problem coming? Because you've eaten a lot of sugar, you've taken a lot of fat, you have a lot of salt. So that is how diabetes is connected to too much sugar, too much fat. So the same happens when it comes to hypertension. So what happens now in hypertension is the fact that, let me maybe a little bit move the slides. If you look at this second photo here, you will learn that still I was trying to show you how sugar accumulates in those body parts, and then you're not able to move on. Okay, so let us look at what happens now. I have tried to explain this, but let me now go to pressure. So hypertension comes when the blood is willing to go to the heart, but the vessels are actually thick. You have actually closed the vessels. They have been blocked by some bit of fat. If you look at this first photo, you look at the vessel is open, wide open, and then a colleague starts eating some bit of fat, so you can see the fat starts clogging around there, that white-like stuff there. And then at 40%, the thing is blocked a little bit, so you have a smaller space. And then you continue eating your fats, and the thing continues getting smaller because the fat is clogging around where the blood is supposed to pass. So at the end of the day, the volume of blood is the same, but where it is passing, it has narrowed. So what happens is now the heart has to pump extra times. It has to pump very hard to ensure that all this blood passes in that. So every time the heart pumps more times so that it can pass through a narrow tubing, then it's what we call high blood pressure, meaning that the blood is passing at a higher pressure to where it is supposed to go because the vessels are actually narrowed. So that is how now blood pressure can be connected with fat. Now, sometimes when the vessels start clogging like this, you may not have blood pressure, but the vessels become thicker. So instead of them being elastic, they cease to be elastic. So that is why you see someone walking a short distance upstairs and then they are breathing as if tomorrow is not coming. And so you have a challenge, what we call angina, the pain you have while breathing. Yeah. So all those ones can come in. Sometimes if you have this blocked and this was going to a particular part and the body prioritizes not to send blood there. So you hear that someone has stroke, meaning that one of the body parts has died because the blood is no longer reaching there. So that is how non-communicable diseases, ladies and gentlemen, can be associated with some of these. I tried to put an illustration of how our bodies, our body vessels look like inside there. Many of you, unfortunately, may not have an opportunity to look at them like I have always seen the vessels, but I think this picture can help you to see what I'm trying to explain. That initially, before you're too much fat, they open as this. The second bit of it, you started eating your fat and started clogging. And the third one, now you have no options. It has really blocked and you can have a challenge. And actually, you can die anytime you are in the bathroom, you just fall. You're on a vehicle driving, you just fall off. So these are the problems with uncommunicable diseases. Well, so I have tried to explain salt, I've tried to explain fat. These are just illustrations of what I've just been talking about. And so you have challenges of this nature when you have too much salt, too much sugar, too much fat, like I've been explaining. This is exactly how our bodies look like. So sometimes the body will cut a particular part, and so you either become lame or they cut it off. Or maybe you've heard about diabetic foot. People with diabetes, they cannot cure. Even when they have a small wound, it can become serious and you never cure easily. All those are challenges that come when we have a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, a lot of salt in our diets. So now what do we do? What are we requesting for? Now I want to take you back to what I first discussed when I started about the consumer rights. Many of us, the consumers, we are not aware of this. How do you know that this food has too much salt? How do you know that this food has too much sugar? How do you tell that this food has a lot of fat? Our consumers, we do not have an opportunity to tell that, hey, this food has too much fat, this one has too much salt, this one has too much sugar. So what we are calling for is, can we have a profiling of nutrients, especially the nutrients of critical concern, which I've talked about? We said that the nutrients of critical concern, we have what we call fat, we have what we call sugar, we have what we call salt. So we are saying, can government provide a document, a guide that talks about the nutrients of critical concern? How much sugar is supposed to be, for example, in which kind of juice? How much sugar is supposed to be in which bread? How much salt is supposed to be in which food? Now, when we have that document, it can guide food manufacturing companies and food industry to make sure that they are measuring sugar according to the profiling. In a situation where a company exceeds the acceptable amount of sugar or salt, then they should be able to write on that product that this one is high in sugar, this one is high in fat, this one is high in sodium. And that's why you see other countries have gone a little bit ahead, like the picture I'm showing there. Whenever they have a product that is high in sugar, it is mandatory that you have to write on it, high in sugar. If a product is high in fat, then you have to write on it, high in fat. If the product is high in salt, it is mandatory that that food product must be labeled as high in sodium. So this is what we are calling for. And this is what we are calling the nutrient profiling model, where we have a document stipulating how much amount of sugar, salt, fat, and etc. that is supposed to be in a particular product. So that document that will be guiding food industry on how much sugar, how much salt, how much fat is supposed to be in a particular food is what we are calling the nutrient profiling model. And this must be, given the challenges I've talked about, this must be, I think it should have been as yesterday, because it's a little bit, it is not, Uganda doesn't have any. And so we are putting our efforts together as stakeholders who are dealing on this program to say that how does government bring on board this nutrient profiling model to guide the food industry. Now, we're also talking about the front of the pack warning labels, that when you have now a product that has too much fat, that has too much salt, that has too much, fat, let the factories or the companies or the food industry write on that food in bold and in front of that pack. If you're packing biscuits and the biscuits have too much sugar, we want the factory or the food industry to label that this biscuit is high in sugar in bold letters and in front of the pack, so that when you're in a restaurant, rather in a supermarket, you are able to see that, hey, this is high in fat. Okay, so you make a choice. Remember, you have a right to choice. So you make a choice that, no, I think I can take this high in sugar. Or you can decide to take one that is low in sugar. So basically, this is what you're talking about. So when you're talking about front of the pack warning labels, we are saying, let the consumer be warned that, hey, this is high in fat. Hey, this is high in sugar. Hey, this is high in fat. But also being reflected from the nutrient profiling model. So ladies and gentlemen, this is our prayer. And this is the campaign we want you to join us. Given the problems I've mentioned, the relationship between fat and sugar and fat, now we are calling government to come up with a nutrient profiling model so that we can know how much fat, sugar, and salt has to be in which product. But also we want the food industry to be able to label the foods in big letters, warning us that, hey, consumer, this is high in fat, sugar, and salt. In this way, we shall be able to meet the demands and the rights of the consumer that I talked about before the presentation, the issue of choice, the issue of information, the issue of awareness, etc. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I had this evening. Of course, there are other strategies that we are going to call upon the government to come up with. We are thinking, if the food is unsafe, if the food is unhealthy, high in fat, sugar, and salt, why can't government increase the tax on those ones, and then reduce the tax on healthier foods, so that the rich who are willing to die, even when we have informed them, they can buy those expensive ones. So we are thinking, can we maybe call upon government to increase tax on those ones and maybe give subsidies to the healthier products and etc. So we're also thinking that why can't we start advertising healthier foods? You as the media, why would you advertise only unhealthy foods that are high in sugar, salt, and fat, and you don't advertise the healthier options? So we are thinking, why don't we also in our adverts as media put in elements of advertising healthier food products? What about you guys joining us in the campaign to make sure that government enacts nutrient profiling model, but also front of the pack warning labels? What about you guys, media teams? Help us in awareness creation. Please be our ambassadors out there, create awareness on this subject matter, and then people are able to improve. With all of this, I want to thank you guys for giving me the attention and for also listening to us and giving me the opportunity to present to you this whole science thing. I know it bothers some of you, but I hope I try to break it down. I'll be ready to respond to questions, if any, before we can call it off. Thank you so much, and thank you, Henry. And over to you, please, to take us through the next. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Bernard. I wish I could have that banana. Colleagues, digitally, I give you that banana. Each one of you pick a finger and enjoy it. So as we thank Bernard for such a productive presentation, rich in content, I just, Bernard, as you're presenting, I do a lot of physical activity. Even this morning, I've just done 12 kilometers. But I said, why is my tummy stubborn? It is continuously, it has as if remained my partner, whether I'm poor, rich, you know, the vows of marriage, until death will do apart. It seems that's what it is saying. But I think I'll come in for guidance to you. How best can I work on it? And I saw our colleague from Big FM. Then I wanted to ask our colleague from Big FM, is he obese? Is Big FM obese? I'm only just joking. But Bernard, thank you very much. And colleagues, I would like to give Bernard a round of applause for such a technical subject. And you also made me check out myself on a number of aspects as you were presenting. And I could see Chiza looking at the screen because his video was live, plus Albert, and several of them looking at the screen, wondering, is Bernard talking about me? So, colleagues, I trust you have all benefited from what Bernard has shared. This concerns us. Issues to do with unhealthy diets, non-communicable diseases is everyone's business. So that said, ladies and gentlemen, I will not categorize or I will not sum up what Bernard has done. Each one of you has done it in your own way. And I would pray that in case you have got any questions, any views, any comments, you can either put them in the chat. You can also raise your hand, and I will be in position to spot you. And if I spot you, I will be in position to give you the floor so that we exhaustively look at the issues Bernard has raised. As the coalition, Bernard has just ended his presentation with a call to action towards government, but also towards you, colleagues in the Fourth Estate. Wherever you are from, West Nile, Northern, Eastern, South, Southwest, Western, and Central. The floor is all open for you. And I see Phil, car number 1. Please take the floor and ask a question or make a comment. Phil, please unmute. Phil, the floor is.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Chimera and Elder plus the team. Bernard said that maybe these media houses can stop advertising unhealthy foods, but only that these commercialized radios, even plus the community radios, so advertise such a foods, it means that their source of revenue may be reduced also. So it means that no matter how the food is unsafe, as long as the manufacturer comes to your station, the station cannot fail to advertise. So it would be better maybe if one day or one time such initiatives can be given to maybe the radio or media proprietors to inform them or to tell them that please, you don't need to advertise unsafe food, because we have seen in so many cases the manufacturer comes with a fake drink, with a fake brand, but you continue advertising. You have no option. You must advertise. You must make money. So really there, it will be somehow hectic. Maybe on that point, if the enforcement, law enforcement, they can quickly go to these manufacturers to first identify if UNBS has not approved them, or why are they now trying to market or maybe to sell their product, such that we can be safe. For example, like on packaging and even showing fats or high or what they are, like the Benedict mentioned, it would be better if UNBS, before a manufacturer produces such a foods, you first squeeze from there. But once the product is in the market, real regulation enforcement, it may be very, very bad. It would be better to keep them from there, not coming to the market, because every time, anytime the consumer can have it, can eat it. For example, like these students, for them, they aim at getting food, no matter how it is made, about brand, about what, they must eat it. So you find out that really we may not regulate such a food after being released from the manufacturers. Thank you so much, team.
Thank you very much, Phil. Can we have Roger Sunday, please?
Thank you so much. I'll start with appreciating Bernard. And as I appreciate, I also request for a copy of today's presentation. I have quite a number of concerns. Bernard, number one, going to the gym, is it a solution to overweight like many people believe? Then number two, all this good information, why is it not shared all over? Like the case is for AIDS. Bernard, I wish you could pick interest in these high-class private clinics. If you compare the amount of money they charge for these tests, it's really shocking, quite a lot of money. Could there be a relationship, like they hide information from the public so that the public falls victim and someone makes business out of them? Then number three, talking about fats from manufactured food. How about the fats that come along with the food that we eat? Meat, to be specific. There are fats that come along with beef and the others come along with pork, with due respect to the Muslim community. How can we strike a balance? And there's a situation whereby someone, after taking fatty meat, they water down a very cold bottle of water. What happens inside there? Then you showed us some pictures of the clogged body vessels. How best can we remove that fat from the body vessel so that the blood can again flow as it used to? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger. Can we have David?
Okay. David, which David?
David, oh, come on. It was David Ayanzo.
Name is
Ayanzo. Ayanzo.
It's okay.
Okay, David.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Please go ahead.
Fine, thank you. Yes, thank you, Henry, and thank you, Bernard, for that elaborate explanation on your submission. Firstly, I think we have a lot to do currently as the fourth estate. Why? If you look at the explanation and the explanation which Bernard has given, that means no one is safe in this world when it comes to the consumption of what we do every day. And the word here, media campaign, I think is the right one. And what, as the fourth estate, what are we going to do in order to say that this thing reaches far, far beyond the borders? Now, there are some issues here when we look at it, like the fatty foods, those unhealthy adverts that are running on our TVs, on radio station, on our papers, on online. The question here is, doesn't the UNBS know about these things? If they know, then we need to hold them accountable for this. For all the diseases, the NCDs that is occurring in Uganda. And secondly, Mr. Henry and Bernard, I think we, the media houses around the country, we have a lot to do. We need to make elaborate reporting on these issues. You know, there's our judges or friends deep down the village who are not aware of these things. I think we need to talk to them. Three, let's also hold these health inspectors from our places accountable. They know about these things, but still they don't talk about it. They go to the restaurants, to the eating places to inspect the food that are cooked in there. But when you will get surprised when these people reaches there and they will be given money and they will not talk about it. They'll just look at few things and then go away. That means they're putting the lives at risk, the lives of people, the consumers, their lives are at stake. So I think it is right time that these people need to be brought on board. They need to be talked on. Our second webinar, I talk about going to the market vendors in Mbale, of which I also made a submission that why don't you also come to our districts here, the Made sub-region that comprises of Ajumane, Moyo, and Obonyi, and you talk to these vendors, and you also talk to the hotel owners, the restaurant owners, these eating places. You collect all of them together and talk to them about the healthy foods that they are supposed to provide. Now you go to town and find these chapatis, these Rolex people are consuming every evening. You see people are eating, not knowing the fats in it. And these fats, when you eat and sleep, the next morning you find yourself you have running stomach. Why? Because of mishandling of the food by the roadside. Those people in the restaurant and the eating places, the way they handle the food, it affects the consumers. We who goes to eat this food. So my appeal here is trainings. We need to equip the journalists more. At times, if funds can allow, some of these things needs in-person training, at least 2 to 3 days. You equip them, and then they come back. If the tools have been given to them, then they can also talk to the food vendors themselves. If the resources cannot allow for the movement for the officials to come to these various districts here, I think as my colleague, the first speaker did mention, if we can talk to the managers, the station managers, the operators of these stations, so that we avert this thing of advertising unhealthy food and drinks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Eddie. That was good. And very quickly, your appeal in the second media, in the second FSML, we took it on and we kind of put you on radar. If all goes well, we might do a short visit sometime in November. When we are done with Gulu, we will drive through Adjumani and link up with you. So we'll be going through Mako and we'll be updating you. But we put your recommendation and request as priority. Can we have Shafiq, please take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. Ben, thank you for the wonderful presentation. I don't know if mine is a question or a recommendation, but looking at the reactions in the group and what other colleagues have raised, I think we need to strategize and see how we meet the managers and UCC, the regulators. For the managers, I'm talking about now the media owners, because being in a capitalistic state, people look at profits and these other issues like health concerns come in last. So we need to see how to strike a balance between making profits and promoting healthy diets, like I stated before. I don't know if in our plans we really do have times when we are meeting UCC, because I feel if they hear about this information that Ben has just shared, it would really awaken their minds and start regulating on what is being advertised. But also the managers from these media centers will also understand that what they are really promoting is killing the population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shafiq. That is quite rich and good. Let's see how we put together. You very well know we have got an advocacy valuable in the campaign. So it's good Martin is also coming on board shortly. So can we have Mr. Busiku, IUFM?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chimera. I don't know, can I be heard well?
You are loud and clear.
Clear.
Yes, please. You are independent. You are independently
All right, thank
clear.
you. Much, Mr. Chimera, engagement, and I believe it shall make a big impact on our nation as far as food safety is concerned. Maybe it's a kind of a joke, but the bananas you gave us, there's someone on top of them, so we can't share them, being the answer for us. We may not take it. It's a joke. Then away from that, getting to getting to Mr. Benadi's submission, it was so real rich, and getting to react a few of them. I'll start with the issue of what of action be taken than words. I'll request our government to go out of the issue of just passing out rules, regulations, but at the end of the day, they are not put in action. The foreign government, they implement certain things, but we are seeing people on ground, which people are having the license for the government to operate, but on one or the other, these are people who are, at the end of the day, they are not doing the right things. I'll give an example that most of the beverage companies and the bakeries and other kind of whatever we have, these companies, they have professionals who are bakers, who went through food science and nutrition course for 4 years and 3 years. But at the end of the day, they're not putting you're supposed to do, because one, maybe such kind of maybe a blade. So this client is going to force the manager or maybe the proprietor of that company to implement that, because he or she is not willing to lose the client. So there comes in that this is what they're implementing. Where is the government? As the government is coming to license these guys and also giving them what they license, the stickers and so on, are they really testing what is being produced, or they just look around and as long as they're given money, they move away, hence leaving the public suffering? Then another thing which I'm going to request that one, I'm going to request a consent and the partners. We come up and we engage some of our bosses. We find that we have some medias. I'll thank God that for us at IUIU, a little bit not that money oriented, the fact that we have our big sponsor being the university, Jamaica University in Uganda. So we don't look much on the money from the public, like the way these other commercial medias have. That a certain product may come, but because this person is paying much money to the media to run that advert, the manager and the marketer will have no option than running that advert, because they are being paid money, and for them what they are looking after is getting money, and they are doing that because they are bosses. They are also forcing them to make money. So that's also we need to engage our marketing teams and the managers, but the presenter, you can also make it. May I remember there's a time I was the program I do on Friday, a health talk show on IU. That program has an advert which plays from the public whenever I'm out of the studio. They could let me that swipe. There's an advert which runs through your show, but that advert, we have realized that whenever we go to get the service,
doesn't reflect what is being mentioned in that advert. So what I had to do, I told the manager and the marketer, from today onwards, I'm not going to do this program unless we meet this. This one is not true. So at the end of the day, when we engaged the company, they had to change. We told them that it's not all about advertising to get people come around, but what is the service are you providing? Some companies go ahead to advertise which even don't do. You find the school advertising the swimming pool running such an advert. You find some medias are selling because the boss is what they are called for. But you as a presenter, because tomorrow you run a certain advert in your show, remember, the public is going to quote you tomorrow, being the one doing that. But if you come and raise your voice, it's true we have a number of media guys who can come and do, but remember your impact you have on the public. It can also force your manager to engage the clients so that they can change. So I request the concept to engage more of the managers and also some other technical team in the medias to help us, because sometimes you are supposed to do something because your boss is what he wants you to do because he's being paid. Then second last,
as you wind up, please,
the issue of media and more media training. Training should be done more on the ground to engage different media, especially the ones who are doing the health programs. They need to be engaged, do all of us what is really wrong and what is right, and that will help us to go ahead and put in place. Because sometimes you can even post someone who's even green about the topic, but is a health expert. I don't know if this person will lie the public because we have no knowledge about that. But if we are trained and experts come around and they give us some sensitization, they to help us to have the knowledge, and in case someone is going off board, you delete the person. Maybe lastly, great work we're doing in Mbale. The fact that really Mbale is a city which is really makes us cry because of the much garbage we have on the streets and the corridors, which is really causing a lot of the unsafe food in our city. Thank you. I remain with 6 from my radio.
Okay, thank you very much, Bosiko. That was great that you shared and you reached out to the company, also guiding it on the advert. This can be something very good for others to pick up. So, Martin, please take up the floor. MW, Sefrod. Bernard, you'll be coming in. I trust you're capturing most of the things. Martin, please go ahead.
Mine is not even a question. Mine would have just been a comment and a call out. Thank you so much, Bernard. It is always nice to hear your wise guidance and presentation whenever we meet. It is shocking that we eat these things and we don't even understand what harm they have to us. We think we are having a good lifestyle, we are eating well, but indeed we are killing ourselves. Now, why do we want to engage media? We know very much, dear media personnel, dear media practitioners, whatever station, print, online, radio, TV, we clearly understand that you are the biggest voice to see that we push these messages. One, for people to understand on what to eat, to regulate intake of those foods that are dangerous to their health, but also for policymakers to come to the rescue of Ugandans, because these products are there because there are no regulations, there are no policy tools, there are no laws to control them or to have them. We don't have regulations to control these manufacturers. That's why they continue marketing the way they want, and people, knowingly or unknowingly, continue to eat these products. But now, who comes now for the common Ugandan? Who comes in to protect the Ugandan? The one whose rights Bernard mentioned at first. It is government. And we even people have confidence in government through UNBS that the food is certified, it has a Q mark. But the Q, Bernard will tell you the Q marks you just pay and get. Of recent, we had UNBS does not have the capacity to test for cancer-causing agents in food products. Imagine food products. UNBS doesn't have the capacity to test for cancer-causing agents in food products. So we should first of all take away our heart from government as media practitioners message to see that first of all the people understand, but then also cause action from government, from the policymakers, from the Minister of Health, from the Minister of Agriculture, from all these development, from all these state and non-state actors to see that we have such policies and tools that will curb the rising burden of NSIDS. You don't know the economic impact. Me or you have a person who has been to the Cancer Institute, who has suffered from diabetes, you know someone in the community, and you can't imagine the cost. You work all your life, and at 40 you fall to bed, and all what you have worked for goes to hospital. So it is a humble appeal to the media people to be the extra voice for the people and for the greater good of this country. Thank you so much, Mr. Chimel.
Thank you very much, WM. It is a great appeal. And yeah, whatever you shared is quite pertinent. Frederick, please go ahead. DF.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really glad and I've gotten rich information from this session. And I believe it sends a message. As journalists, we have a lot to do in relation to this. If you remember the famous 2022 story of the CT5 gene in Arua city, that actually brought a lot of debates in parliament and so on. It is an issue of food safety and also consumer rights. You remember so many people died, but up to now, there's no justice for this. And those who were arrested were released. And you see the factory is currently operating. These are some of the issues really we need to take seriously to advocate for. It's not only that, mostly these districts that are along the borderlines face a lot of challenges in terms of food safety, where you see these cross-border movements of traders with goods and services. So it is too common. We may not rely so much on UNBS, URA, and so on, but we can actually tell them there's something wrong this side, or there are concerns about this type of food that we have. Just like the previous speaker who spoke ahead of me said, most times people pay for these marks from UNBS, from URSB, you all pay for these services. So nobody can deceive me, even if you are at the headquarters of URSB or UNBS, you may not tell me that 100% you do due diligence in favor of the consumers of these services. So it's upon us maybe to take a multi-dimensional approaches. We may not neglect government in this fight. We involve them. If we had actual maybe money, we have to do more sensitization, bring them even to know what they are supposed to do. Most of these people who are working in these agencies, most of them do not have so much knowledge, apart from the books they read, apart from maybe the contracts they have signed. They don't like field works. So it's us, the journalists, to actually tell them there's a problem here, you are seated there, and yet you're supposed to be out. I believe if we continue with these engagements, we'll really do a lot. We even need to start empowering the consumers themselves through our reportings, through even telling them that this type of food stuff, when you see this type, which is doing you badly, you have to report here and do this like that. We have to advocate in different forums. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Frederick. That was beautiful. Isaac, take the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Isaac. BI.
I'm really
I'm really privileged for having joined this engagement. Actually, my point is straight away nutrient profiling and model. I think the issue everyone has been tackling about NBS and I think the responsible agencies. But I wanted to take a bit, talk about the corruption. I think corruption also has contributed a lot because how can the products being processed all along from the industry up to the last person who is buying it, in between that, where is the government? Where is the responsible agencies who are supposed to be monitoring and supervising these industries? So me, I see, as we talk a bit as journalists, I think we need to do something. If somebody can have a link, give someone a tip, we need to write such stories so that we publish these stories so that other people or other companies can really maybe get to know that the products that are consuming or the last person that is consuming are a bit dangerous. So we need to do more investigative stories on these companies which are producing standard. Let me say producing products which are not of standard.
Yeah.
Then of course, when we talk about the leveling, most of the products when you check out, you find they have leveled a certain kilograms, any maybe sugar levels, but when you taste, it's a bit tasteless or there is too much sugar, most of the drinks. Like when you talk of kombucha, you talk of simanya agarika, these local products that they are producing, because most of them, they are produced by these local people. They are not, what I know, they are not being verified and of course being supervised by UNBS. Then I wanted to hit also the issue of advertisement. Most of the guys have tapped on that, but actually most of the media houses are money oriented. They want money. Somebody brings the products, but the person, maybe the marketing manager actually approves it immediately, and he wants the station to get some money. So what I could request that as you engage us, you need to engage our station managers, directors, and of course, as consent, also you need to engage the real supervisors of these companies. Thank you. I think that's my submission.
Thank you very much, Isaac. Valid points. Still, we are capturing everything. We'll continue engaging you, colleagues, because as at the end, I'll be inviting you on Friday 11th. We are inviting you to another media league. We are looking at the financial sector. So please block your Friday from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. The invitations are coming. Your coordinators are going to invite you. Dennis, the floor is yours. Dennis, take up the floor, please. Dennis? Okay, David?
Okay, thank you. I think this is a call for action.
Yes, yes.
Most of the people I've been checking in the chat, they are writing, so who is safe? Most of the people were writing that. You know, every time I have a discussion some lecture from Bernard, I realize these are errors, these are mistakes that we people have done today, tomorrow, and some other day. It's true, most of the labels, as in packaging, are written in English, and most of our communities can't read. Some can read, but then even to us who can read, let's ask ourselves some questions to us who are here as journalists. How many times do you check on a certain product, either for expiry, either for sugar content or fats, to know what your body requires? You know, Cosent has come up with a unique thing. It is something that we know, but we didn't know. I don't know whether I'm clear there. Something that we know, but like we don't know. So there is a call for action. Like Cosent is saying, journalists come on board the fourth estate, come up with information, come up with the topics that will alert people to know that there is a dangerous situation that we are entering into. Otherwise, our everyday things, our everyday situations are not direct, that we are doing the best, as in taking clean foods. In fact, the question is, who is healthy? Who is safe? So more engagements, please. We appreciate consent information. We appreciate consent, but we need more information so that we can ably pass it to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David, for the compliments. And we are going to continuously engage you. Still block every Friday. We'll be sharing with you. We will make sure at least we bring in new information every Friday. So thank you very much for your compliments. You are our partners. And like you've all said, anything to do with food, food is everything, and food is our business. So let's empower ourselves so that we continuously talk about the vagaries of unsafe food. So, ladies and gentlemen, it seems all the hands are exhausted. So, Bernard, can you go through a plate full of white rice, yellow rice, pirao, goat meat, chicken meat, fish, very little vegetables? So that is what you have to sum up in your response.
Thank you so much, KHR and the team. Where I was hiding, I've started hearing some bit of music running, so I'll be as quick as I can so that we are able to avoid the too much noise. I want to appreciate the questions, and I think they were highly technical questions, but also a lot of guidance. I want to start with one from Medias. She's saying that now, what about the processed agroecologically produced products? Are they safe? Are they healthy for us? Ideally, agroecologically produced products would be the best products that would be promoting. Now, the only thing is that you can produce something organically or agroecologically, but then you handle it wrongly at the time of post-harvest handling. So now our request will be that whoever is producing or giving us organic or agroecological food, then we still need also to empower them to ensure that what is organic or what is agroecological remains safe up to when it reaches the plate. But also trying to sensitize them on how best we can avoid food waste and food losses for organic food. So they would be the best, I would say, Medias, but then we need to ensure that the food remains safe up to the plate, not only in the farm, but up to when it lands on the plate. And then the second issue on organic or agroecological products is that our colleagues out there who are producing organic food, they go and waste it. At the end of the day, they go and highly process it, and then it loses the nutrients that we wanted to pick out of them. So it would be processing organically produced to agroecologically produced food would be okay, but we need to have the standard of processing. To what extent can you process? Otherwise, people process organically produced, and then they put a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of fat. Then it ceases to be the healthy food that you intended to produce for the communities. So that is it, Medias, about organic and agroecologically produced products. And then Rogers was asking, now we've had people saying that, okay, so you can eat your pork and then you go and take your 2 beers and then take Kamurali, then all the fat will be disappearing. I want to first put a disclaimer that scientifically, taking alcohol after meal is not a solution to breaking the fat. Secondly, people have also assumed that when you have a fatty meal, then you accompany it with kasese or the alcohol, the local brew. Whereas that is an assumption that people have scientifically and technically, that is also very wrong. So please don't take fat and then you think you'll burn it with the alcohol. So what alcohol does basically is that every time you take in alcohol, after taking alcohol, it forces you to take more fat. So that is where the problem is, that alcohol actually is a curtain riser, or I would say it's a qualifier for eating fat. So every time you take in drinks which are alcoholic in nature, they will force you to want to take in more fat. So that's why people go to booze and then they keep on taking pork or goat's meat. No one ever asks for anything else, but they keep on asking, okay, add me 2 kilograms. Why? Because alcohol actually stimulates the need for fat. So it is not true that when you eat fat, then you should drink. And actually, people are being forced into taking more fat whenever they drink. The other challenge with the drinking is that drinks actually increase appetite. So every time you take waraji, in the name of breaking down fat, you increase your appetite levels and you end up overeating at the end of the day. It also goes back to someone was asking us what time we're supposed to eat meals and all this. It is also true that eating meals, especially high carbohydrate and high fat in the night, is very dangerous to society. It's actually dangerous to life. So usually what happens is that when you eat meals, like maybe at 10 or 11, and then in the next 20 minutes you sleep, it means that the body is not going to utilize that food. So what happens is that there's a delay in the process of digestion, and so also the process of utilization of the food. So many times when you are lucky and the food has been broken down or digested, the body usually converts it into fat and then it can only keep it for you because you're not going to use it in the night. So that's why we discourage having meals past 9 o'clock. If it were possible, have your meals before 8 so that you have more time to watch TV or to move around, and and you have about 2 hours before you can sleep. So that is it about the timing of the meals. Then the other person was asking that going to gym as a solution to this fat thing. Yes, whereas going to the gym would be helpful to break down fat, many of us are misusing the opportunity of the gym. So what happens is that many people go to the gym, but they do not know the reason why they're going to the gym. Someone is weighing 120 kilograms, and so that you would expect that they're going to the gym to reduce body weight. Unfortunately, when they reach there, they start putting on muscles. So meaning that by the time they were going to the gym, they did not know exactly what they're going to do. So the advice is that whenever you're going to the gym, have a purpose to why you're going to the gym. If the purpose is to reduce body weight, then you must do only physical activity in the gym that reduces weight, not that puts on muscle. So that's why we are seeing that people are accumulating a lot of muscles unnecessarily, which are actually affecting their body systems at the end of the day. Someone went to cut weight, now they come back with additional weight. So whenever you're meeting your gym instructors, give them the reason or the objective to why you're going there. The other challenge with gym is that people go to the gym, you assume they're going to think about cutting weight. Before the guy starts the exercises, he orders for 2 kilograms of pork and 2, 3, 4 beers. So literally meaning that you are going to have your exercise and then you already have a replacement of the energy that you have taken in, that you've just lost in the gym. So in the gym, maybe you lose, let us say, 100 kilocalories. And then as soon as you leave the gym, you add in 500 or 600 kilocalories. So you're literally not losing anything. Instead, you're just trying to get the energy to eat. So it is very important that when you're going to the gym, then you have a purpose to why you're going to the gym, but also you are very sensitive of how best you're going to lose that body weight, if at all that is your mission. And technically, you cannot lose body weight by one intervention. That now you go to the gym, but you're eating too much. So it's like you now have to balance the exercise and the amount of food that you're taking in. Usually, the way weight comes is the same way we lose it. So if your risk factor to body weight is too much consumption of fat, the only way you can reduce it is to do exercises to burn the fat and also to limit the consumption of the fat. So it's a two-way thing. So I think that can be an answer to the gym issue. Someone also was talking about fats that come along with food and pork and what. How do we strike a balance? So Roger still was asking that, okay, look here, when I eat meat, I'm taking in fat. When I'm taking pork, I'm taking in fat. So how is that one, how are you striking a balance? It is true that most of the animal products, especially beef, goat's meat, and pork, and all this, they have fat. They have inbuilt fat. And that's why the elders in the olden days, they used to eat what they call omukaro, where you get meat and then you first put it on fire to reduce some bit of fat from meat. That was the intention, to reduce the amount of fat. Whereas the amount of meat you're eating could not give you a lot of fat that would cause you trouble. Many people now, you have meat which is already having fat, and then you add now excessive fat in it. So you're literally taking fat in the meat and fat that is additional, which is a very big problem. So if someone would have boiled meat or roasted meat or meat which is stir-fried, I wouldn't have a challenge with them if they can have consumption of meat in moderation. The challenge is that now someone eats 2 kilograms of pork alone, which it is a fatty meal, and then they put pork again in the other chikala. So at the end of the day, you have a lot of fat. So we need to strike a balance of whenever I'm eating this, how do I ensure that I balance the boat around the fat? How can we unblock the vessels that now we've eaten a lot of this fat, but how do we unblock the vessels if at all they have been corroded? Now, if the vessels have been corroded, you will not know. You have to come to the facility health center. We look at you, nutritionists will be there looking at you, and they try to look at your vessels. If at all they are starting to clog, by the way, physical activity can just break down some of those fats, because what you need is to make sure that the fats are broken down and the body uses them. So that is why sometimes in a situation such as that, we have recommended something like intermittent fasting, but it has to be managed by a nutritionist, where we put you on a fasting phase so that the body resorts from using carbohydrates and your body starts using the fat. And in a few days, you're back to normal. Or we can do it medically and we're able to give you some bit of therapy and you're able to minimize the fat. So that is also one of the solutions we can do to unblock. We can either use medical, we can use what we call bariatric surgeries, especially you've seen men who are huge, the stomach is really slipping down. Those ones, we have no option. We just open up their stomach and cut off the fat and we mend them again, and you see them the next morning when they are in their normal swag. So these are the things we can always do. Inspectors are not doing their work, yes, somehow here and there. I think we need to reach out to them as well. How best can we increase awareness about this subject? Is it possible for media houses on this subject to incorporate it as part of the social corporate responsibility? I'll leave it to the media team. I think our request would be, whenever you're talking on radio, on TV, or writing your articles, it would be very nice that we keep talking about this thing in our shows so that we can improve the message dissemination out there. And then Doreen was saying that the health educators shun away from giving information. I have always said that if there is a means of us sharing this information on your radios, I don't know how best we can do it, but don't get frustrated. Just in case you need a comment, just call. I'll give you the comment. Henry will give you a comment. We can always provide you the comments as many as you want, but I know that locally you would need people to come directly in the studio. I think we need to convince people to be able to be of use to you. That one we may not have control over, but I think we need to sensitize the masses as much as we can so that we reach out to so many people. Lastly, how could we, what are the immediate solutions to curb such complications? Now, as I've mentioned, the complications that come with diets, you reverse what you've been doing. where did the problem come from? If it is sleeping very late, if it is eating night meals, if it is having heavy meals late in the night, if it is having a lot of fat, a lot of sugar, what we do is just to reduce that, and then we continue doing physical activities. But what happens is that you need to touch base with your nutritionist, and then we are able to support you accordingly to meet the demands of your body. I see someone is saying, Bernard, could you please provide us with your cell phone? Okay, this one can always come through. Bravo says, well, at what should babies be introduced to sugar? Now, babies, what you start giving the babies is what they get used to. No child is supposed to start eating food before the age of 6 months, but I would recommend that don't give a child sugar until they are 2 years, because their taste buds are developing. So the moment the taste buds start testing sugar at an early stage, then they have a challenge. They will get used to that, and then they will keep demanding for it. So it would be nice that you start introducing sugar at least after 2 years of age, and you must introduce it in very minimal amounts so that the child doesn't get taste buds that actually like sugar. So basically, that is, I think that is it in the chat, but also what I was able to capture in the questions. I know that we may not be able to attempt to all questions, but I hope that we have gotten something small to learn from this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop here, but I encourage each one of us to grab the link and please register so that we are able to send your resources timely. Please grab that link and put in your details so that we can be able to logistically handle your data issues. Otherwise, Mr. Chimera, over to you, and thank you, colleagues, for listening in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. This was a great webinar that we have had today, quite rich and very productive. So colleagues, in case of any leftovers, can we address them on Friday? Because we are going to send you a link. And I would like to thank you very, very much. All that you have shared is very rich and very productive. I like your commitment and I like your quest for knowledge. We are going to commit ourselves to continuously engage with you. I would like to say that we are leaving the link open for the next 5 minutes. Those who have not registered, please do register and let's forge ahead. So I would like to thank very much all my colleagues from Sefrot, Siatini, Fian, Consent. This has been a good day at 62 years of our country after independence, that we are adding value to the health of Ugandans. So let's keep it up. Let's not give up. Food safety, healthy diets is everyone's business. Cheers.
Henry.
Yes, please.
As we close, I am requesting the team members who, as they leave, just drop us a comment, if any, about how the webinar was. Any comment that then we can either improve or maybe we can maintain. Yeah, I will be grateful for that. We'll just drop some context.
How are you?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi, Camera. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you give me 1 minute so that I close the webinar that we have been hosting? Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Take your time.
Yeah. So, hello, Bernard. Thank you very much. And colleagues all from the different regions, our colleagues from the media, thank you very much. It is very rich, and I would love to have you again on Friday, 11th, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We will be looking at the financial services once more, and we will be concluding the series. So thank you very much. I wish you the best of the evening. Happy Independence Day. Cheers. Bye-bye.
So colleagues, after dropping in your comments, please feel free to leave the call as long as you've registered. Just feel free to leave the call. You can always get back to us on call, but on Friday we shall be catching up again, looking at another subject matter. We want to thank you so much for giving us your time and for participating actively in this call. And we are honored that we can always provide information to you guys, maybe for further awareness, but also empowering you guys to have a lot of information that you can share on your shows. We shall be glad that whenever you have a show and you intend or you've planned or you've maybe communicated aspects around this food issue, feel free to share with us also what you've been sharing about, or maybe any questions that you want to address on the radio. We can always quickly provide some bit of feedback so that you can sensitize better the masses that you'll be targeting. We are so humbled for your time, and we catch up again come Friday. Yeah. Thank you all for your comments. I see Regan says it was educative, kudos, and yeah, I think many of us probably loved the show. And let me see, thank you, colleagues. Okay, someone is asking for an in-person training. When resources allow, we can always have that. Okay, someone is wishing us, okay. Nyakaisiki, I've taken note of your comment. You'd love these interactions to be done physically in the different districts with the different stakeholders.